Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripan Study Center. Today we are going to do the chapter of social science and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Indian national movement, our most important chapter arrive here. The Indian national movement. But first topics arrive here, origin of nationalism. You know that there is a most important thing here, origin of nationalism of Indian people. The rise of nationalism is reflected in the spirit of resonances is the Europe. Resonances, there is a most important here and Europe when the freedom for the religious restrictions lead to be a enhancement of national identity. And this expression of the nationalism was furthered by the French Revolution. The political changes is resulted in the passing of sovereignty from the hand of the absolute monarch or to the French citizens who had the power to constitute there is a nation and shape its destiny and the watchword of their French Revolution. The French Revolution here, liberty, equality, and fraternity, inspired their whole world. Many other revolutions like the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and etc. About which you have already read their lesson 3. You know that? I remember it you. There is the already read their American Revolution, Russian Revolution on previous chapter. And so then there is the idea of nationalism. In this lesson, you will read about the rise of nationalism in India and which emerged in the 19th century after the revolt of 1857. There is a most important here about the rising of nationalism emerged in the 19th century is the revolt of 1857. The next point here, rise of nationalism in India. For India, the making of national identity was a long process. The whose root can be drawn from to the ancient era. India as a whole had been to be ruled by the emperor like Ashok and Samudragupta in ancient time and Akbar to the Gazeb in a middle time. But it was only in the 19th century that a concept of national identity and national consequence emerged. And this growth was intimately connected to the anti-colonial movement, about which you have already read in the lesson 4. The social, economics, and political factor had inspired the people to define and achieve their national identity. People began to discovering their unity in their process of their struggle against the colonialism. The scenes of beginning a process under their colonial rule, providing a shared bond that tied different groups together. Each class and group felt the effect of colonialism differently, and their expressions were varied, and there is a notion of freedom were not to be away the same. And several other cases also is a contribute toward the rise and growth of nationalism. One set of law of British government across several regions lead to be a political and administrative unity. And this strengthened the concept of citizenship and one nation among the Indians. Do you remember the reading the lesson popular resistance their movement? Do you remember the way of peasant and chivalry is revealing there is the land and the right to be livelihood was taken away? And similarly, the economical exploitation by the British agitated other people to unite and react against the British government as a control over their lives and resources. The social and religious reform movement of 19th century also contribute to the feeling of nationalism. Do you remember the reading about the Swami Vivekananda, Annie Besant, Henry Thoreau, and many other? There is a most important religious reformer. And they revolve there is a gallery of ancient India and create faith among the people in their religions and culture and thus give to the message of love for their motherland. The intellectually there is a spiritual side of nationalism was voiced by the person like Bankim Chandra and Chatterjee. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee and Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Arvindo Ghosh. There is the most important here nationalism is here. And the Bankim Chandra hymns there is a motherland Bande Mataram. Bankim Chandra Lemon to be a motherland Bande Mataram become there is a rolling cry of the patriots nationalist. It is inspire generation of the supreme self and the self-sacrifice. Stimulus it's a create of fear in their mind of BTs. The impact was no strong that is a BTs had to be banned the song. Similarly, Swami Vivekananda has a message to the people, arise awake and stop not till the goal is reached. An appeal to be Indians. It acted as their potent force in the courses of Indian nationalism. Do you also remember reading about the establishment of printing press and how it's a help in the wide circulation of idea like liberty, equality, and fraternity? There's a question mark. All these factors help in their spirit of nationalism among the people of India. Around this time, many organizations were beginning formed which arise their voice against the British rule. And most of these organizations were regional in nature. There is a most of these organizations were regional in nature, and some of these organizations were very active, such as Bengal, Indian Association, Bengal Presidency, and Association of Pune Public Meeting, and etc. However, it was felt that if this regional organization could be worked jointly, it would be help to Indian masses of rise their voice against British rule. And this led to be a formation of Indian National Congress in year 1885. There is a formation of Indian National Congress is 1885. There is the most important achievement. We will be discuss about this next section of this lesson. Emergence of Indian National Congress 1885. Our next topic is important here. Emergence of Indian National Congress 1885. The Indian National Congress was founded by the Allen Actor Williams Holmes. There is the most important person here, the founder of the Indian National Congress, Allen Actor William Holmes, in 1885. Holmes was a retired civil service officer. Holmes was a retired civil service officer. He saw a growing political consequence among the Indian and want to give it a safe constitutional outlet so that their resentment would be not be devolved into the popular agitation against British rule in India. He was supported in this scheme by the because his Lord Dolphins and by a group of eminent Indians. Gomesh Chandra Banerjee of Calcutta was elected as the first president. You know that the Indian National Congress 1805, their first president here of Gomesh Chandra Banerjee of Calcutta. The Indian National Congress represented and the urged their politically conquest Indian to set up a national organization to work for their betterment. Its leader had a complete faith in the British government and it is a scene of justice. They believe that if they would be oppressed their grievance and before their government reasonable their British would be content try to be rectify them. Among the laborers leader, the most prominent were of Firoz Shah Mehta. The most prominent were Firoz Shah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Dada Bhai Naroji, and Das Bihari Bose. and Bahaduruddin Tawzi, etc. For 1885 to 1905, the Indian National Congress had a very narrow social base. Its influence was confined to the urban, educated Indians. Here your screen, there is a most important picture here photographing the Indian National Congress in 1885. 1885, the Indian National Congress was first introduced for their picture. On your screen, there is an important picture for Indian National Congress is 1885. The early aim of the organization were limited only to be a communicate with the British government on behalf of the Indian people and voice their grievances. It was rightly called to the era of moderates. You will soon find out why. This is important. There is a why. The next topic is here, initial stage of Indian National Congress. Initial stage of Indian National Congress. The Congress placed its demand before the government always in the form of the petitions and work it within their framework of law. It was for this reason that the earlier Congress leaders were referred to be a moderate. During the first 20 years, the Congress made a moderate demands. The member placed their demand before the government away in the form of petitions and work it within the framework of law. It was for this reason that the earlier Congress leaders were referred to as the moderate. And they asked for representative legislature, individualization of service, and reduction of military expenditure, education, employment, and holding of the ICS, Indian Civil Service examination in India, and decrease in the burden of cultivator and defense of civil right. And next year, separation of the judiciary from there is executive and change in the tendency of law, reduction in the land revenue and salt duty, and policy to help in the growth of Indian industry and handicraft, and introduction of welfare program for the people. There is a most important thing here on National Congress. Unfortunately, there is a fault did not be bearing many change in the policy and administration of the British in India. In the beginning of the Britishers had a favorable attitude toward their Congress. But by 1887, and this attitude began to change. They did not be fulfill the demand of the moderate. The only achievement of Congress was enactment of the Indian Constitution Act. 1892, that enlarged the legislatures by the adding of few non-official member and passing of the resolution for holding Indian civil service examination estimated in the London and India. Many leaders gradually lost faith in the constitutional process. Even though the Congress failed to be achieve its goal, it has succeeded in creating national awakening and instilling their mind of the Indian people a scene of beginning to be one nation. They provided a forum of the Indians to discuss a major national issue. By realizing the government policy they gave there as a people valuable political training. Though there is were not be ready to take a aggressive step which would be bearing them in a direct conflict with the government. The most significant achievement was the foundation of a strong national movement. The Britishers who were earlier supporting the moderates soon realized that the movement could turn into a national force that would be drive them out of country, and this totally changed their attitude. They passed strict law of the control education and curb their praise. The minor consequence were given so as to be been over some Congress leaders. The British Viscount Lord Curzon, was a staunch as an imperialist and believed in the superiority of English people. He passed on Act 1898, making it is a offense to the provoke as people against the British ruler. He passed this Indian Universities Act of 1904, imposing stiff control over the Indian university. And Curzon was out to suppress the rising of national Indian, and this was evident from that the 1905 award, which you will be read the next section. The next section is the partition of the Bengal. That is important. Partition of the Bengal 1905. Our next topic here, partition of the Bengal 1905. That is the most important here. What do you think happened in 1905? There is a most important question. What do you think happened in 1905? Curzon announced the participation of Bengal. The reason for the partition was given as the attempt to be improved administration. But the real aim was to divide and rule. There is a real aim was to divide and rule. The participation was done in order to create a separate state for the Muslim and so introduce the poison of the communalism in the country. There is a important. The partition was done in order to create separate state from the Muslim and induce the poison of colonialism in the country. However, the Indians view their participation as unattempted. Their British to be disturbed their growing nation a moment in Bengal and divided the Hindu and Muslims of the region. Disparate to the agitations ensured in their state and its praise. People of different part of India is opposed their partition of the Bengal all over the country, and this opposition was carried on their organized meetings, professions, and demonstrations, etc. That is important. And Hindu and the Muslim tried to the Iraqis on each other as a hand to show their unity and their protest. The use of Swadeshi means made in our country by our own people. Goods and the business, national education, and Indian language were encouraged. The new nationalist is a spirit of self-reliance, said there is a fear of the repression, including imprisonment and painful by the British rule. It was the Bal Gangadhar Tilak who realized the importance of boycott as the weapon that could be used to paralyze the world British administrative machinery in India. The boycott and Swadeshi movement were instrumental in the establishment of Swadeshi enterprise, like a textile milk, banks, harshnerists, tanneries, and mechanical work and insurance companies also. Swadeshi stores were opened and volunteers supplied goods at the doorstep of every household. The movement stripped to all classes and groups of people, everyone including women and children, come from to be take part. The most active were is the school and college student, and this made the British as a reverse. There is a partition of the Bengal and United it is 1911. And during this time, the role of radical nationalists in the India and National Congress. During this time, the role of radicals nationalists in the India is National Congress, who were called to the Gram Dal. Gram Dal there is important and come to be appreciated. Garam Dal is come to be appreciated. They try to involve to the people from all classes and groups, including peasant, workers, student, as well as a woman. Means there is the farmer, worker, student, as well as a woman also they participate in this. They succeed in their uniting Indian people against the common enemy, the British. The young people were reused to be highest level of patriotism and zeals of free of their country. They helped in making people self-confident and self-reliant. They also revised their Indian cottage industry. The next topic is the most important here, the rises of the radical nationalist. There is the most important, the rises of radical nationalist. The middle policy of the moderate in the Congress, the led to be rise of the passionate and the radical nationalist, and who come to be a is called Garam Dal. There is the most important here, the radical nationalist who is come to be called Garam Dal. Thus the first phase of the nationalist is a moment come to an end with the government reaction against the Congress. On one hand is split in the Congress in 1907. On the other hand, that is why the period after 1905 till 1918 can be referred to as the era of passionate is a nationalist or Garam Dal. The era of passionate is a nationalist or Garam Dal. Lala Rajpat Rai and Bal Gangadhar Tilak is a Bipin Chandrapal means Lal Bal Pal. There is the most important here. There are Lal Bal Pals mean Lala Rajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandrapal. Very important leader of these radical groups here. When the moderates were in the forefront of the action, they had is a maintained a low profit, but now there is a swings into action, and there is enters the market, the beginning of a new trend and a new phase in India as a struggle from freedom. According to them, the moderate has failed to be defined Indian as a political goal and the method adopted by their mid and ineffective basis. There is a moderate, the mind is confined to be upper landed class and failed to be a enacted to the Marx support as a basis of the negotiation with the British. Three leader on your screen. There is a most important person. There is a Lal, Pal and Bal. Means Lala Rajpat Rai is the first and the Bal Gangadhar Tilaks and Bipin Chandra Pal. There is the most important leader on this period time here. The Garam Dal realized that the British were out to be exploit Indians and destroy there is the self-sufficiency and drain Indian of its wealth. They felt that the Indians should be now to become a free for foreign rules and the government themselves also. And this group is instead there is a making of petitions of the government and believe in the organizing Marx protest here. And realizing to the government is the policy and boycotting foreign goods and use of Swadesi. Swadesi mean here homemade goods etc. And they did not believe in the depending on the marches of the British, but believe that is a freedom was their right. Bal Gangadhar give a slogan, freedom is our birthright and we must have it. There is a most important slogan here. The asking for the UPSC exams also these questions. Bal Gangadhar Tilak give a slogan, freedom in our birthright and we must have it. There is a most important slogan. In 1916, the two groups were again united with their effort of Mr. Annie Besant. And do you remember reading about there is an earlier lesson and she started working for there is a Home Rules movement in the 1914 and she was convinced that India should be a granted self-government. In 1916, Muslim leagues and Congress also come to an understanding with each other. As a sign to be Lucknow Pact, and later is a Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose become the eminent figure of their Indian National Congress, who led to freedom movement of Indian forward. Formation of the Muslim Leagues 1906. This is the most important and next topic over. The formation of Muslim Leagues 1906. As the radical movement grows strong, the British began to look for the ways and meaning to break the unity among the Indians. They tried to do this thought the partition of Bengal and by the showing there a seed of colonialism. There is a seed of showing there is a seed of colonialism among the Indian people. They motivated a Muslim to form a permanent political association of their own. In December 1906, during the Muhammadan Education Conference in the Dhaka, and the Nawab Salim Ullah Khan raised the idea of establish of Center Muhammadan association to be take care of the Muslim interest. Accordingly, on 3rd December 1906, the All India Muslim League was founded, and another prominent person, Aga Khan, was chosen it is the president. The main object of the leagues was their protect and advance the right of Muslim in India and represent there is a need to their government. By the enquiring their issue of the separate Croat and the government, so there is a seeds of colonialism and is a separatism and among to Indians. The formation of the Muslim League is considered to be the first fruit of the British master of the David and Joes. Muhammad Ali Jinnah later is joined to the Leagues. There is the most important leagues here. Joined to the Muhammad Ali Jinnah later is here. Then the next topic is here. Marlow Minto Reformers is a 1909. There is a most important here. Marlow Minto Reform. What is here Marlow Minto Reform? Let's come and see here. Do you remember reading about the Indian as a Constitution Act 1892, which enlarged the legislature there is adding to member of the Central Legislative Assembly. The Constitution Act of 1909 was an extension of the 1892 reforms, also known as the Moral Mintos reforms after the name of then Secretary of the State, means Lord Morless, and then to the Vicarious is a Lord Manto. It increased the member of the Legislative Assembly from the 16 to 60. A few non-elected members were also added in there, and thought that the members of the Legislative Council were increased. They had no real powers. They is reminds a mainly advisory is the character, and they could not stop any bill from being passed, and nor did they have to any power over to the budget. The British made another calculated move to sow their seed of colonialism in the Indian politics by the reduce their separate electorate of the Muslim, and this meant that from the constituency are dominated by the Muslim, only a Muslim candidate could be elected. Hindu could only the vote for the Hindus, and Muslim could only vote for the Muslim. The many leaders protest against their colonial electorate policy of British to divide it and rule. The our next topic is the most important here. The national movement during their First World War. The national movement during the First World War. The First World War started in the year of 1914. There is started here First World War 1914, about which you have already read the preview lesson World War I, World War II. And this war is a fought among the nation of Europe to be get a colonial monopoles. During the war times of British government made on the appeal to their Indian leader to join hand with them in their time of crisis. Indian leaders agree, but they put their own terms and conditions. After the World Wars, the British government would be give to the constitutionally regulated and administrative power to be Indian people. Unfortunately, the step taken by the British government during the World War I and create unrest among the Indian people. And this was because the British government had taken to the Hugs loan during to the war time, which they had a reply. They increase a rent from the land and league, and there is a forcefully restricted Indian as a British army. They increase the price of necessary goods and impose taxes on a personal and professional income. As a result, they had to face a protest from the Indian society. Farmer and worker of Champaran and Baradolis, Khera and the Ahmedabad activity protested against their exploitative policy of British government. Lakh of the students left school and the colleges. Hundreds of lawyers give up their practice. And women also is a significant contribute in this moment, and their participate is become by their emergence of Gandhi. There is emergence of Gandhi, and then boycott of the foregone cloth become a Marx movement with the thousand of bonfire or foregone cloth lighting the Indian sky. The next year coming together of Naram Dal and Garam Dal. That is the most important year, a coming together of Naram Dal and Garam Dal. During the war time, the Naram Dal and Garam Dal come together in 1906-16 at their Lucknow Congress session. And the Muslim Leagues as a Congress agreed to the separate to the electorate and decided to give a weightage to the other party whenever there is a minority. Both Congress and Muslim League joined to the demanded self-government, and which could not be ignored by the government. There is a self-government and could not be longer to ignore their government. The Lucknow season was also significant as the radicals leader of Congress were attending in after the split in 1907. It is about the Tilak into prominence and remains as the active member in the movement till his death in 1920. The pact which took place between the Congress and Muslim leagues and are used to great hopes and aspiration in the country. Simultaneously, there is a work done by their home rule movement infused to confidence and determinations among the people. In order to pacify their Indians and the Montagus and for reform come in 1919. It introduced a direct which was a kind of double government in the province. The provisional government was to be divided into two parts. One to be responsible to the Indian and create authority the legislatures, and other is a governor. The report also is a later stress in the internalization of the service. In the First World War, Britain and the Allied group bombed their bar. During the war, a Muslim supported by the government with an understanding that scratched their place of the Ottoman Empire and would be the hand of the Khalifa, but after the war, a new treaty then imposed of the Turkish Sultan and Ottoman Empire was divided. And this angered there are Muslims who took it on the insulted their Khalifa, and the Shaukat Ali and the Muhammad Ali started the Caliphate movement. Khalifa movement against the British government. You know that the Khalifa movement started by the Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali is the two brothers started the Khilafat movement against their British government. After the end of First World War, the British government also passed another act is known as the Royal Act. The act of authorized to the British government to arrest and imprison any person without trial on a court of law. This is important. The Royal Act here, Royal Act mean there is an act authorized the British government to arrest and imprison any person without trial in a court of law. It is also ban Indians from their keeping any types of weapon. This act there are Sikh who keep a kirpan, a types of small sword, with them a part of their religions. The Indian consider this act as an insult them. On 3rd April 1999, on the occasion of the Baisakhi for a Jallianwala Bagh, Amritsar. That is 3rd April 1999, on the occasion of the Baisakhi fair of the Jallianwala Bagh, Amritsar, people had a gathering for a peacefully protest against their act. Their Royal Act. They are protested here. And there suddenly a British officer, General Dyer, entered into the park with his troops and ordered them to open fire on the crowd with their machine guns. And this done without any warning to the people. The Jallianwala Bagh is a gate where close and people, men, women and children could not escape their safety. Within a few minutes, about 1,000 persons were killed. Their message aroused their fury of the Indian people and showing the anger of the pain. The famous philosopher, poet Rabindranath Tagore is turned to the knighthood of the British government. Emergence of Gandhi. Our next topic here, emergence of Gandhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was a lawyer and trained in Britain. He went to South Africa in 1893 and his died there for 21 years. The treatment of Indians in South Africa by the British provoked his conscience. He decided to fight against the policy of racial discrimination of the South African government. During the course of the struggle against the government, involved their techniques of satyagraha. Satyagraha means here non-violent insistence for the truth and justice. Gandhi succeeded in the struggle in South Africa. He turned to the India in 1915. In 1916, he found there is a Sabarmati ashram at the Ahmedabad to practice the ideal of truth and non-violence. Gopal Krishna Gokhale advised him to tour of country, mainly in the village, to understand the people and their problems. His first experiment in the Satyagraha began at Champaran in Bihar in 1917. When he inspired the peasants, they struggle against the prevails to the plantation system. And he also organized a Satyagraha to be support the peasants of the Kheda district of Gujarat. And these peasants were not able to pay their revenue because of the crop failure and epidemics. In Allahabad, he organized a movement amongst the cotton mill worker. On side your screen, the Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi has a picture. The next year, the non-cooperation movement is 1920 to 22. There is a most important non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji, by this time, was the convinced that is a non-useful purpose would be served by their supporting the government. He was also emboldened by their earlier success in Bihar. In the light of the past and even there is action of British government, he decided to launch a nationwide satyagraha against the proposed the Royal Act in 1999. And his threatened of the start of non-cooperation movement in case of the government fail to be accept his demand. Why do you think Gandhi protests against the act? There is a most important question. Why do you think Gandhi protests against the act? It was because the act gave the government emergency power of repress political activities and allowed agitation of the political prisoner and without any trial for 2 years. Gandhiji wanted non-violent civil disobedience against such an unjust law. The government paid no heed to it. Gandhiji, before the start his non-cooperation movement in August 1920. In this was the appeal to be a people not to cooperate with the British government. At this time, the Caliphate movement started by the Muslim and their non-cooperation movement by their Gandhiji emerged into one common confirmation against the British government. For this, Gandhi is led down to the liberate a program, surrender of title and the honoraries officer well as the resignations from the nominated seat in the local bodies and refusal of the attend to the official and non-official function. Gradually withdraw of their children from the officially controlled school and colleges. Gradually boycott of British court by the lawyers and litigants. Refusal on the part of the militaries and radicals and the laboring classes for offered themselves to the Syriot for the service and Mesopotamia. And the 6th year by court of election to be legislative counseling by the cabinet and voter. And boycott of foreign goods and national school and colleges. It was thus supplemented with their constructive program which had 3 principal features. Promotion of Swadeshi and particularly hand swing and the wavings and removal of the untouchability among to the Hindu and promotion of Hindu-Muslim unity. there is a most important promotion of the Hindu-Muslim unity. Due to this appeal of Gandhiji and the unusually his presence overtook a country, a large number of people dropping their difference took part in the movement. Over two-thirds of the voters obtained from taking part in the election to be consular and held to the November 1920. Thousands of the students and teachers left their school and colleges. A new India educational is a center were started by them. Were like Motilal Nehru. Motilal Nehru is C.R. Das and C. Rajagopalachari and Asif Ali boycotted their court. Legislative assemblies were also boycotted and foreign goods were boycotted and their clothes were put on the bonfire. But during this moment, some incident took place that did not be catch with there is a view of Gandhi. The non-violent and non-cooperation movement which started the scopelessly there is a marked by the violence in August 1921. The government started taking a serious action and prominent leaders were arrested. In a 2 month, nearly 30,000 people were imprisoned and the outbreak of violence at the attention of Gandhi. Non-violence took place in the February 1922. There are 9 February 1992. At a Chorachori village in there is a Gorakhpur district of UP. There is a non-violence took place in February 9, 1922 at the Chorachori is a village in there is a Gorakhpur district of UP. This was followed by the more violence and rallies and Gandhi suspended his non-cooperation on February 14, 1922. He was arrested at Ahmedabad on March 18, 1922 and the sentence there is a 6 years a simply imprisonment. The non-cooperation movement failed to be achieve success. Yet it is a success to be prepare a platform for the future movements. After taking back their non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji and followers were busy in the create actives in the village area. By this is a give of the masses of people removed to caste base in the ministry. There is an important here. The Gandhi is here allowing there is a give of there is a message for the people remove the caste base the animosity. They are important here. On your screen there is a most important moment here. The Gandhi is here. This is an important moment. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru and other is like a mandate a person hatched out of the Nobel's plan of non-cooperation from within the reforming councils. They formed the Swaraj Party on January 01, 1923. C.R. Das was the president of the party and Motilal Nehru was security. There is a Swaraj Party. The Swaraj Party is established here on January 01, 1923. The C.R. Das was the president of party and Motilal Nehru is the security. The party was described as a party within the Congress and not a rival organization. But they could be neither in and nor named to the Act of the 1919. In 1927, British government appointed a commission under to the chairship of the Sir John Simon. The commission was appointed by study their reform of 1919 and suggests a further measure for the constitutional reform. The commission had no Indian member in it. The Indian is a boycott this all the white commission. And therefore when there is a commission arrive in India, it face a protest all over the country. There is a black flag where shopping and demonstration there are hartals take place all over the country and cry of the Simon go back. The Simon go back has a hearted. And this demonstrator stated there was a lathi charge at the number of placed by the British police. These demonstrators were a lathi charge at the number placed by the British policy and he was called Simon go back. Lala Rajpat Rai was severely assessed by this police and he just assumed there his injury. This aggression against the Simon Commission gave a new strength of the national movement of India. The meanwhile, the Indian political leaders were busy in drafting as a constitution, and this is known as the Nehru Report, which formed to the outline of the constitution. Among its important recommendations there is a declaration of right and parliamentary system of government, a, a dual franchisee and the independent judiciary with their Supreme Court at its head. The most of recommendation formed the basis of the Constitution of Independent India, which was adopted more than a 20 years later. At the historical annual session of Congress in Lahore in 1929, the Congress committed itself to a demand of the Purna Swaraj, or complete independence, and issue as call to be a country to celebrate 26th January and Purna Swaraj Day. Their Purna Swaraj Day is the first time celebrated here on January 26, 1930. The Congress celebrated here. Independent Day. The first declared is a Purna Swaraj Independent Day here on January 26, 1930. The Congress here thinking Independent Day. On the day is 1950, the Constitution of Independent India was adopted and making India is a organization as a democratic, socialist and republic. And then January 26 is celebrated as a Republic Day. The next year, Dandi March. Around the same time, the government made a new law. They imposed a tax on the use of salt. And this was opposed by the people as salt was the basic need of their people. But no attention was paid to the demand of the people. During to March-April 1930, Gandhi is a march from to the Sabarmati Ashram to the Dandi on the Gujarat coastal from the purpose of ridings of government salt. The violation of the salt law, this is the first challenge to be government. It was a peacefully march and Gandhi is a committed a technical breach of the salt law on 6 April 1930. Where is a pick up to the escorted a sea salt from the coast is a break is a law. In this moment, a farmer, trader and women took part in a large number. The government arrested him in May 1930 and they put him to the Irwada jail to be Pune. This campaign is had to significance affect their British attitude to about Indian independence. Gandhi Irwin Pact. Gandhi Irwin Pact in 1931 was one of its example. Gandhiji also is one to be London in 1931 and participate in the second round table conference as the sole representatives of Congress, but no settlement could be arrived at. Thought Gandhi as a arrest to remove him from the active leadership of their movement. And this civil disobedience is a continue. A special stress as laid on the boycott of foreign goods, particularly our clothes. The civil disobedience movement through a failure was a vital phase in the struggle for the freedom. It is promoted to unity among the Indians of different regions under their Congress banner. It provides opportunity to be recruited as younger people and dedicate them to position of the trust and responsibility in their organization as also in the provisional administrations, which was captured in 1937, a selection. It gave with the publicity to be a political idea and method throughout their country as generate political awareness, even the remote villages. On the screen, your picture, there is the most important picture, Gandhi during to the Dandi March. This picture, on this time, there Gandhi is a march of, there is a salt law. There are during of Gandhi March. Our next topics here, the revolutionary. There is an important here. The revolutionaries. The reactionaries policy of British development are deep hated toward them to among their section of their younger generation of India. And they believe that India could be achieved independent only by the organization of revolutionary movement. As a result, they organized a secret group to be launched or revolutionary activities against the British. Youth were trained in the aggressive method of the violence as a mean of the strength against the British. They attempted to the killing of the unpopular British officials and communities is decorated to be financed their activity and looted army. Their looted arms, there are many of them. Therefore, chose their path of violence is the gain of independence for India. They were called to the revolutionaries. What is a revolutionaries here? The many of them before choose a path of violence to the gain independence for India. This is called to the revolutionaries. They are center of their activity of Punjab, Maharashtra, Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and Odisha. The prominent is among these revolutionaries were Khudaram Bose and Prafula Chakis and Bhupendra Nath Dutt and the V.D. Savarkar and Sardar Ajit Singh, Lala Hardyal and his Gadar Party and Sardar Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad, etc. There is the most important revolutionaries here. These revolutionaries organized a secret association and murdered many British officers and debt to the railway traffic and engaged in organized attack of British wealth. In order to overturn to the British ruler through the arms and Kakoris, conspiracies and the plan by the Ram Prasad Bismills and Asifullah Khan and other teams member of Hindustan Republicans Association in 1925. In 1928, a Hindustan Socialist Republicans Association was formed. The Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh and Bhatukeshwar Dutt and other. The Bhagat Singh and Bhatukeshwar Dutt is where is the bomb inside the Center of Legislatives Assembly on 8 April 1929 and protesting against the pass of the Public Safety Bill and the State Debt of Bill arising slogan of Inqilab Jindabad. The Inqilab Jindabad is a long lapse of revolution. Inqilab Jindabad, though no one was killed to injury in the bomb incident and following trial to court of this and other cases. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were hanged in the 1931 and there are sacrifices provided as a incentives to the people and they were regarded to the martyrs and become the symbol of national unity and aspiration. On your screen there is a most important picture of here of Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru and Chandrasekhar Azad. There is a most important people for the revolutionary. Our next topic is important here, the development of socialist ideas. There is an important topic here. The development of socialist ideas. A significant feature of the 12th century was the development of socialist idea in a Congress and outside it. The peasant now started to asking for the land reform and ambitions of zamindari system and reduction in the revenue and debt relief. The All India Trade Union Congress, which was founded in 1920, and the work to the improvement in there is a worker as a working and living condition. There is a most important time 1920 is here. It's mobilized that is a worker to be cases of complete independence with a help to the movement of the board based. Some prominent socialist and the communist leader where is the M.N. Roy and S.A. Danjis and Ambanis is a Mukhadyas and the Nalin Gupta and Muzaffar Ahmad and Shaukat Usmani and Gulams Hassan and the Singh rebels Chetar and G.S. Adhikari and their P.C. Joshi. There is a most important name here, the prominent socialist and communist leader here. They outlined their course of the revolution through the transformation of individual strike into a general political strike. The development of spontaneous peasant movement and nationwide movement for their complete independence as well as the spirit of revolutionaries is propaganda amongst the police and their army. The struggle against the imperialism was the rallying slogan. In 1936, when the Nehru was a president of the Congress, and he declared at the Lucknow session that the solution to be Indian as a problem and lay in the adoption of socialist idea. Nehru was deeply influenced by the Karl Marx. Nehru was influenced by the Karl Marx. Karl Marx is the writer for sociology. Even Subhash Chandra Bose was influenced by the socialist ideas. Because of difference with the Gandhi, and Bose resigned from the Congress and formed his own forward bloc. The next topic is important here. The communals divided. There is an important topic here. Communals divided here. The policy of divided and the rule was evaluated the rise in the days of the East India Company, and when the Britishers were established themselves and ruler of India. You have read how to compensate on one India ruler against the other, and ultimately it has become disputable rulers. You have seen that in the later half of the 19th century, a nationalism started to growing. Now the British government found it is a prudent to utilize there is a policy of divided and rule and drive as well as between to the Hindu and Muslims. The British had a look upon their Muslims with the disfavor of dispensations and once the revolt of 1857. But now they realize that is order to the contracted their growing nationalism. Time had come to the appease there are Muslims. The government seizes every opportunity to set the Indian against one another on the basis of the religions and creating hostility between them. Ultimately, it is the accordance with their policy separated to electorate for their Muslim were established. You have read about the formation of the Muslim leagues, which as well there is a seed of colonialism. There is a Muslims legals is a leagues. There is a which is so there is a seed of communalism. You will remember that a league had to be formed on the encouragement of British officer. That is important here. There is a Muslim leagues had been formed on the encouragement of British official. The Communal Award of 1932 was the continuance of the policy because it is allowed to separate a electorate and reservation of the seat to be a depressed classes also. And suppressed electorate were a first demand by the Muslim in 1906 and introduced for them under the Morales Manto reform of 1907. There is a most important Morales Manto reformers here 1907, and this was done with the view of to be built up by Muslim colonialism as a counterpoise against Indian nationalism. Under the Montfort reforms in 1999, there is the extended of the Sikh. Under their Montfort reform 1999, there is extended for the Sikh and European Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, etc. Under the Act of 1935, 17 separated electorate were to the constituted and is related to the communal electorate were on the unmixed evil. And they hampered the growth of national unity. The two national theory appeared in 1938 and was clearly communicated by the Jinnah in 1940. Once of the demand for the Pakistan was made, it was received direct and indirect encouragement of the British authorities. The immediate their case of emergence of demand for Pakistan was the refusal of Congress from the coalition ministries. After the election of 1937, the county seemed to be defeating to both the marches and the rain. And under the circumstances, the partitions was accepted as a necessary evil. And the only way of getting the right of British ruler and preventing the complete breakdown of law and order. So our next topic is the most important here. Achievement of independence is 1935 to 47. There is a most important period time here. 1935 to 47. their achievement of independence. The British government prepared to the white paper in March 1933. On the basis of the white paper, a bill was prepared and introduced a parliament in December 1934. The bill was finally passed at the Government of India Act on August 2, 1935. The most conceptions is a feature of the Act of 1935 was the concept of the All Indian Federation comprising of the province of British India and princely state. There are province of British India and princely state. It was the compulsory of the princes to join their propose their federations, and for the princely state it was the voluntary. The member for the province is were to be elected, while the representative of the state were nominated by the rulers. Only 40% of the population in a Britain India had to right to vote. Only 14% population in the British India had the right to vote. The power of legislature and were confined and restricted. It had no control over to defense and foreign relation. The act is a protested British vested interest and encouraging their emergence of the national unity. Rather than encouraging a separation and colonialism, all the nationalists, including Nehru and Jinnah, is commended their act. The Congress is meet at Lucknow on 25th April 1935. Third, this act was the condemned. It was decided to be contest the election to be resist British imperialism and to end their various regulation, ordinance and acts which were initiated against the Indian nationalism. In the 1937 election, the Congress is accept their poll. Congress ministries were formed in the 7 out of the 11 provinces. On March 18, 1997, the All India Congress committees is adopted a revolution on Congress policy in their legislature. That is important. It is a claim that the Congress had contested their election with it is the objective of independence, and it is a total rejection of the new constitution and their demand for the Constitutional Assembly to the frame Indians as a constitution. The declared Congress policy was to combat the new act and end it. The immediate effect of the coming of Congress ministries was the feelings of the relief. Political prisoners were to the release and the large measure of civil liberty and established. Regulation was also is a pass, and this is provided to the considerable relief of the peasantry. Basic education was intended to be made free and compulsory for every child. The next point here, national movement during the Second World War. When the Second World War broke out of the 1939, the Congress attitude was one of sympathy, through it refused the unconditionally cooperation. The Congress demanded that India must be declared an independent union and present application must be given to this status to the largest possible extent. The British did not be agree, and as the result all the ministries resigned in the protest in 1939. A demand for the provisional national government at the center was made at the instance of C. Rajgopalcharis in 1940. It was turned down by the missionaries. Lord Alinto Goals in October 1940 was the launcher their civil disobedience campaigns. Acharya Vinod Bhave was the first of for individual or satyagraha. All India Committee of the Cabinet and the Letters as a chairperson was set up and the draft or declaration was made. In March 1942, Sir Stafford Scrippers came to India with a draft of declaration. It started the British government's desire to be grant Indian is a dominized states at the end of the war. The complete independence was not promised. There was no mention of a national government of the Indian people. The Congress rejected this offer. The Muslim League opposed to be a creation of single union and found that it seems unstable, as it did not be unequal as a candidate of Pakistan. The Cripps as mission failed. Cripps missions is a failure. The struggle for independence was carried on by the Subhash Chandra Bose from to the award. He found the outbreak of the Second World War to be a convincing opportunity to strike as a blow for the freedom of India. The Bose had been put under house arrest in 1940, but he managed to escape their rebellions on March 28, 1941. The Indian community where is acclaimed him to be leader Netaji. There is a claimant him to be leader Netaji. He was greeted with their Jai Hind. Slapped the motherland. Salute here the motherland. He tried to rise up the Indian army and all these the country people to rise in an army against the British. In 1942, the Indian Independent League was formed and discussion was taken to from the Indian National Army, mean INA, the Indian National Army for the liberation of India. One on the invention for the Ras Bihari Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose come to East Asia on June 13, 1943. He was made the President of India Independent Legal and leader of the INA, popularly called Azad Hind Force. That is called Azad Hind Force. He gave their famous battle cry, Chalo Delhi. There is a famous battle cry here, Chalo Delhi. He is promised independence to Indians and say, तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा. There is the most important here. You give me a blood, I will give you freedom. That is a slogan. In March 1944, the Indians flag was hostile in the Kohima. That is important. Unfortunately, after there is a moment, collapse did that is happened to the Netaji remain a mystery. It is sad that he lost his life on the air crash in August 1945. But it could not be ascertained to the INA continued to be occupied on the haunted place in India's and freedom struggle. The instance of pluralism of Bose and the soldier of the INA is provided to the source of inspiration for the Indian people. On your screen, there is the most important people here, Subhash Chandra Bose, means Netaji. There is a man for the head of the INA. There is important here. The next topics here, Quit in India moment and after. There is a most important topic arrive here, Quit India moment and after. The failure of the Cripps mission made the Indians frustrated and embittered. It was felt that time had now come for the launching another marks of movement against the British rule. And discontent of Indian people was increasing due to the warm time and stress and the growing unemployment. And there was a content the dangers of Japanese attack. The Indians leader were convinced that India would be a victims of Japanese aggressions only because of the British presence of India. Gandhiji said the presence of British in their India is on invasion of Japan to invade India. Subhash Chandra Bose, who is escaped their former India, is in 1941 and repeatedly spoke over to radio from Berlin and arousing the anti-British feeling which give a rise to be pro-Japanese settlements. The Congress under Gandhiji felt that British must be compelled to be accept Indian demand for a quit the country. A meeting for Congress working committee in their Bradha passed the Quit Indian Revolution on 4th July 1942, which was later endorsed the pass on 8 August at the Mumbai session of the Congress. the Congress decided to launch a mass struggle on no violent line on the biggest a possible scale. And addressing the Congress delegate on the night of 8th August, Gandhiji in their stirring speech said, "Here's said, I therefore want to freedom immediately. His every night before dawn if the year come. Here I am not be going to be satisfied with anything, a short of complete freedom. Here is the mantra, a short one that I give you. You may be imprint on your hearts and let every breath of your give expression to it. The mantra is do or die. Do or die. There is a most important mantra here. And we shall either free Indian or die in the attempt. We shall not live to see the perpetuations of slavery. That is important. But before their Congress leader could start their movement, formally all important leaders of Congress were arrested before their adoption of 9th August 1942. The Congress was banned and declared as an illegal organization. The press was censored. The news of arrest of popular leaders shocked the nation, and their anger and the resentment and expressed through there is a numerous aggregations and hurdles is prosecutions and demonstrations in all part of the country. With the most of the important leader in a jail, the movement took at a different shape at a different places. The people give vent to be their anger by the warnings, government building, police station, and post office, any that is the symbolized British authorities. Railways and telegraph lines were disconnected. At the some place such as Balia district in UP, Midhapur, a district of West Bengal, and the Satara is Mumbai. The revolt took a serious turn. Inspired by their mantra of their Gandhiji, people were ready to be make their supreme sacrifice. The British with its army and police come down heavier on the Indian people. The people were shot indiscriminately. There is a quiet Indian movement become one of the great mass movement. There is a mass movement of historical significance. It is demonstrated their depth of national settlement and indicate the capacity of the Indian people for sacrifice and determined to struggle. After this moment, there was no threat. Independence of India was no longer a matter of the bearings and it was to be a relatedly. On your screen, there is a most important moment, quit independent moment is a 1942. There is a important moment on your screen. There is a most important picture also. At the end of the World War in 1945, the British government started to talk about their transfer of power to the India, Hindu and Muslim. The first round of talks could not be successful because Muslim leader thought that a Muslim leagues was there is only one who could be represented Indian Muslims. The Congress did not be agree upon it. In 1946, the cabinet mission arrived in the India to be find a mature agree solution of the Indian problem. The mission held talk with the leader of all the prominent political parties and the proposed it's a plan of establishment of federal government of India. Initially, there is a plan is a criticized by all political parties, but later all give their consent to it. When the election to be a constituent assembly took place, their Congress has won 199 seat. There is a 199 seat on this time, and the Muslim League is won 73 only. That is a most important. The next point here, partition and independence of India. Difference soon arose between the Congress and Muslim League concerning their power of the Constituent Assembly. The leagues rejected the cabinet mission plan in the middle of 1946. In September 1946, the Congress formed their government at the center. The leagues refused to be a part to it, and Muslim League celebrate this day as the Direct Action Day. The Muslim League celebrate this day their direct action day on 6th August 1946 to be attacked Pakistan. The conflict resulted in the disparate communally wrought in different parts of India, and thousands were killed in their roads, and lakh of people become homeless. In the meantime, Lord Mountbatten was sent a Viceroy of India. He put up his plan in June 1947, which included partition of India. In spite of the opposition of Gandhi, all the party agreed to be partition and India is Independent Act of 1947 and come into being. It is a create two independent states in the India subcontinent, India Union and Pakistan. Indian Union and Pakistan. India got independent on 5th August 1947 at the stroke of midnight, and 14 and 15 August 1947 transfer of power took place here.